Good. Maybe you're not going to be able to see over there. Okay. All right. Welcome, everybody. So tonight we're going to be talking about beliefs and belief systems. And we're going to deliberate on them and think about if we want them, if we need them, if we want to change them or dispose of them, what they might be, if they're helping us or hurting us. And we're going to actually work through these things. So when we're working anytime with guides such as Judah, understanding that, I'm not just saying words, they're bringing in energies that are transformative, right? So they're beyond what I can convey with words. So even if you sometimes don't understand the concepts of things that I'm saying, it really doesn't matter, because there's still an energy here of freedom for you, right? And you'll get what you need. And we will, towards the end, we are going to actually, together, you will, and individually, as you're listening tonight, if something pops up in your head, ooh, crap, I've got a belief about this or that or the other, that's really not working for me anymore. I see it now. If it comes up into your awareness, just kind of keep it in your awareness, because at the end of the night, we're going to clear it and remove its power from your life. Okay, so let's just start, though, by letting Judah say whatever they want to say. And it doesn't need to be on topic. My elementary teacher self likes to have a topic and props and things like that. Okay. Hello, all of you dear and precious ones. Isn't there goodness and glory all around? All around. You see, the things in our dimension, which you sometimes call heaven, is beyond really your imagination. And this is the value of, some of you are connoisseurs of near-death experiencers and the stories of those who experience this going into the white light and coming back to complete something that is left undone in their life. The excitement of it is to get a glimpse from their story of what it's like over here. Yes. And it's really beyond description. And this is a common thread you will hear in these stories of indie ears, that they really have no words to explain. This vessel once experienced some moments of it when her father passed. She received He died suddenly. She received a phone call that he had passed. She raced into the closet to throw on her clothes and make the drive to the hospital far away. And as she stood in the closet, the presence of her father entered the closet with her. She was overcome by an indescribable level of happiness and joy and excitement and exuberance. She knew it was her father had come, you see, to let her know, it's wonderful here. It's wonderful here. It's wonderful here. Everything is okay. Everything is okay, you see. And it was important to him to do this because she was his only child and his beloved, and it's something he wanted to do before he permanently went to his new home. And so when you're in the presence, our presence, as now when we are channeling, you might have this feeling, a similar feeling, like you've come home. Like you've come home, because we represent the very love and acceptance of Source that you've longed for all your life and haven't been able to find in a human relationship. And you might have had even a very loving mother, father, siblings, or family, as far as families go, which we know none of them are perfect, but still feel some hollowness or emptiness inside, you see. And we would say the majority of humans really only experience fleeting moments of this unconditional love, which we represent. We are. God is love. You see, love is God. God is love. God is not a person, so to speak. So much further beyond that, beyond your imagination, you see. So when you're here and we're speaking and you're in our presence, you may feel loved. You may want to cry. You may feel energies running through your body. You may feel a healing coming. You might feel some ugly emotions even popping up, but let them come up and let them go. Let them come up and let them go. We are here to set you free. That is all. We're not telling you how to live your life or who or what to worship or even what you are. We are only creating a space where you can experience love and divinity and get a glimpse into how divine and precious you are, what a treasure you are, how you represent far more than you can ever imagine. You have so much more power and understanding than you give yourself credit for. You're infinitely intelligent and wise. We're here only to plug you in to Source. We're the cord. We're the cord. You're the light, the lamp. We're the cord and the plug, and we're going to simply plug you into the outlet of Source. Yes. Good. We have lots to do tonight. Get ready to get free. Get ready to get free. We know you're already ready, so we won't bother to ask your permission because we know you've already given it as you came in the door, the permission to set you free. We see we have power tools. Power tools. Yes. Some of you have literally spent decades looking for answers to fix your broken parts, your hurting and broken parts. Well, we'll tell you there's nothing to be fixed. There's nothing to be fixed, only to remember your perfection and to remove the layers of we will say just downright shit that people and places and things have put on you. Lies and misunderstanding and ideas that have been like a ball and chain around your feet so that you couldn't fly, dear eagles. Fly, 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 dear eagles. Room full of eagles tonight. Get ready to fly. We're going to slip off those balls and chains from your feet so that you can soar to higher elevations. So we're here to remove some things and to remind you of who you are. Yes, and to change some of your perspectives that are keeping you locked down. Good. And here we go. Good. Okay, great. We'll try to save time at the end for some questions for Judah. Okay. Somebody put in the comments one time that angels don't cuss, and I said, well, I don't know about that. Maybe they do, maybe they don't. I think they access all my vocabulary. So I'll tell you a little funny story from this week. We had a visit from a brand new being, which is not totally uncommon when Chuck and I try to channel most nights. And this being was described themselves as a ninth dimensional avian being, and told us that its purpose, or the purpose of its group and its species, are to mainly to oversee all the species of birds on the planet. They have a real passion and love for the birds. So this being, as I was channeling this being, I felt like a bird. It was the strangest thing. I kind of had the mannerisms of a bird, and I could tell that this being was sifting through my mind to find memories and information of what I knew about birds. It was the strangest thing. And I heard it say, find the phrase lovebirds, and it really liked that phrase, lovebirds, that we have. Anyway, that was just a little strange aside. Okay, what is a belief? So while we talk tonight, know that beliefs can either be empowering or disempowering. Empowering or disempowering. And they're rarely neutral. Sometimes, but rarely. So while we work tonight, Judah's going to be working with your superconscious in order to disempower some of these negative beliefs, neutralize them, or transform them altogether into something more positive and serving. And if you want to look into a little bit more about these terms, superconscious, subconscious, conscious, if you're not familiar with those, you can go back and check out the video called Ted Lasso from a couple of weeks ago, and it'll give you a lot of background on that. Does anybody had a chance to watch that? Okay, good. All right, so your superconscious short form is, your superconscious is an aspect of your subconscious that is able to be connected to source, to divine intelligence. It's the part of you that's eternal. It's your higher God self. I think it's in your pineal gland. That's my sense at this point. And then we have, of course, our subconscious that we've been talking about a lot, which drives a lot of our life, a lot of the things that we don't want. As a matter of fact, I would almost say almost all of what we don't want that we're manifesting, that we're creating, is coming from somewhere in our subconscious. Okay, so what is a belief? Well, the word belief is a lot like love. The word love, I love ice cream. I love going to the mountains. I love you. It's just kind of a word that's lost its, right, its meaning. And the word belief also is a word that's used very loosely and doesn't have a lot of meaning to it anymore, but we tend to apply it to morality, our morals, our religious traditions and beliefs, and our political opinions and beliefs. That's how we tend to use it. I was taught from a very young age in the Christian tradition that those who did not believe what I believed were going to go to hell. And that was a very sad and difficult thing to believe as a young child, right? And I didn't have any other frame of reference for life other than that. The Bhagavad Gita, which Chuck and I are into right now, I think we've probably listened to it 20 times. Get the version by Stephen Mitchell. It's so profound. Says, in it, Krishna says, however men try to reach me, I return their love with my love. And I love that, right? However men try to reach me, I return their love with my love. And I really feel that experientially for myself right now. I feel that however I reach out to God, God returns to me with love. So this word believe can be kind of nebulous, but we tend to use it when we say I believe. We tend to use it to preface a strongly held opinion or preference that we have, right? Such as, I believe it's wrong to cheat on my spouse. I believe that the red party is going to ruin our country, or the blue party is going to ruin our country, right? I believe that everybody is born sinner. I believe that the Bible is divinely inspired and inerrant. There can be all kinds of beliefs, but it's the more mundane ones that can really ruin our life, such as there's never enough time. There's never enough money. Those ones, right? Beliefs like, I believe that a good education is important, and if you don't have one, you can't succeed. I believe that honesty is of the utmost importance. So these types of guiding spiritual and moral beliefs, they can be super powerful in our life, either in a positive way or a negative way, but they tend to polarize us, right? They tend to keep us held in duality. And we tend to think that our belief system will protect us from things we don't want. And instead, they tend to polarize us and divide us. Polarize us and divide us. If you've ever sat at a dinner table with your family or gone out to dinner with friends or been at a party, you can almost want to cringe when you hear somebody say, well, I believe, right? I believe, because you know what's coming. There's some opinions, and you know what they say about opinions, right? One of the most hurtful things I ever went through, I was a young mother. My mom and dad came into town. We went out to dinner for Mother's Day with my kids, and when we got home, we were talking and just having conversation. And my dad, he's passed now, a fundamentalist Baptist minister for most of my life, a lot of my life. And we started talking about some whatever things, life things, and I started sharing. I made an attempt to be authentic and say how I really felt about some things going on with me, how I felt in my heart, my emotions, my feelings. And he got very upset because what I was saying didn't line up with his belief system of what was true and what was right. Okay. And I kept trying, right? Because I wanted to be heard and I wanted to be loved as I was and accepted as I was. And my dad got very upset because I wasn't aligning with the religious doctrine that he felt would keep me safe in the world. And he stormed out of the house. He stormed out of the house and left the door open and got in the car. And my mom just stood there like a deer in the headlights, and she made a choice to turn and go get in the car and leave with him. And I remember that day getting in the tub that afternoon and just putting my hand in the water and just feeling like a cannonball had been blown through the center of my chest. It hurts me so badly and deeply. So, when we hold on to belief systems at the expense of loving someone else, we've made a huge and a grave error, right? Would you guys agree with that? I know. So these belief systems can polarize us in a certain direction. They separate us from others. They can be used to shame us or guilt us or keep our lives small. They can become prisons in our mind. A big one for me that I took away was that women are inferior, right? And it was never said to me that women are inferior, but it was conveyed through the religious tradition. For instance, women were not allowed to ever stand behind the pulpit, right? They weren't allowed to teach or preach if there were men in the room and that sort of thing. And women weren't allowed to be spiritual leaders and so on. Now then, so, there's all that, the religious, political, moral stuff of belief systems. But then there's the more mundane ones, the kind of low-key ones, beliefs that we have that we might repeat over and over, consciously or unconsciously, like, I'm fat, I'm never gonna lose this weight. We say these things to ourselves. And then there's even more deeply hidden subconscious ones that really are the big daddies that hang us up. And these are the things that keep us from creating the life that we want. So anybody that's sitting in a room like this probably really understands the law of attraction, right? And we've all kind of bought into the truth, this uncomfortable truth that we create our own reality. Okay, even though sometimes we're excited about that because we're creating good stuff. And then other times we're not so excited because things are kind of a train wreck. But we know somewhere under the surface that freedom means taking responsibility for what's going on in our life. That somehow we're creating our own reality, even if we don't quite understand why or how, and we're willing to own that. Okay. So beliefs can look like, I'm tired all the time. Nothing works out for me. You can't trust most people. I'm not good enough. I'm a nobody. Life is hard. Well, that's a big one. If you don't want to work on anything else tonight, even just if you know you have that belief, life is hard, that's a big one that can kind of train wreck a lot of things for you. I'll never get ahead financially. I have a terminal health condition. I have cancer. That can be a belief system. So I want to give you an example of a subconscious belief system. So going back to the law of attraction, anytime when we've reached this level where we're in a meeting like this and we're on this spiritual track and we're consuming a lot of spiritual teaching, if we're still manifesting things that we just really do not want, they're not serving us well, you can rest assured there's some kind of subconscious belief at work that's derailing us. Here's an example. Imagine a man who's had maybe 2 or 3 or 4 relationships. He's fallen in love with a partner, and it was just a loving, beautiful romance, and caring and compassionate, and a good fit. And then something happens, and it's just a train wreck. And each time, the woman ends up leaving him, or the relationship ends tragically in some way, and it just has become this pattern. Well, you can rest assured it didn't start then. You have to look way back. So imagine that young man perhaps was a little boy who went out to play one day, play in the mud after the rain, and he had so much fun, so much fun. I mean, he made mud cakes and dug in the mud, and he was just covered head to toe, but he was having a ball. It was such a great experience. But when he came inside, guess what happened? Mom shrieked and screamed and yelled about him being dirty from head to toe. Okay, and then maybe you went for ice cream one day with Dad, and they had such a great time together. And then he got home, and again, Mom shrieks and yells because you let him spoil his dinner by having ice cream, right? And so then there's a judgment that comes in, and the judgment about life is, good things never work out for me. Positive experiences just can't happen. Things might go well, but something's going to ruin it. You see, and then there's a belief system that goes deep into the subconscious mind, even buried below the surface. And so then he plays that out in the relationships. Things can be really happy, they can be really positive, really exciting, and then they end up going awry. Does this sound familiar to anybody? Anybody seeing a pattern already? Yep. Okay, so here's the good news about subconscious beliefs. They're easy to move. Easy, 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 easy. Once you see them, they're super easy. So beliefs are, what are they? These belief systems. They are actually neural networks in your brain. They are your brain wired to these ideas. And what are memories? There are memory structures in your neural network. What are memories? Memories are energies. Okay, and energies like to move. They don't like to be stagnant. So a mental or emotional default setting in the brain, it causes us to react in the same old ways that aren't serving us. And science has proven that we can actually have ruts in our brain, right, of these pathways, neural pathways, and we tend to think in the same way or have the same responses and reactions over and over. So our beliefs are these rigid mental pictures about how life should be and how the world should be. Barbie dolls, Disney princess stories, the happily ever after. When I divorced, my 3 kids were older. They were mid-20s, and my youngest was, I think, 18 at the time. And I knew she was going to have the toughest time because she was the one that had such a romantic picture about life, and she already had her Pinterest board with all the beautiful wedding pictures, and you know, she was my Disney princess girl. And it was the toughest for her because of that. So we have all these belief systems about what love is supposed to look like, and what a happy life looks like, and what a happy family looks like. We have belief systems like breakups are bad, where we could say we had a conscious parting of ways, and we're both heading in a beautiful new direction, right? But we don't. We say break up. Think about that word even as like a horrible word, break. Ah, gross. Expectations are closely tied to beliefs, right? Like, and the toughest belief systems are the ones that have an always or never attached to them, like, my husband should always kiss me goodnight. If he doesn't, something's wrong, right? Or wives should make dinner for their husbands. You know, faulty or egoic belief systems can lead us to be hurt and disappointed when things don't work out, when we don't get the outcome or the expectation of what we want. Life isn't measuring up to our mental pictures. And we've been learning that a lot here on the Judah channel, is to let go of expectations. One example of a belief system that I've seen, I don't know why I'm talking a lot about Christianity tonight. I don't mean to crash on that at all, but I know that it helps some people, right? There's some people who need to hear these things and have the help. But one is, a belief system is, my parents and also myself, when my kids were young, believed as Christian parents that if you don't receive Christ as your Savior, you'll go to hell. So imagine being a parent and imagine that your child doesn't buy into that belief system. So then as a parent, you are terrorized by this fear that your child's going to burn in hell for eternity. And imagine what a sorrow and a difficulty that is for a Christian parent, and how distressing that is, right? And so these parents, because of this belief system, they can really deeply suffer internally because of that, and be estranged from their kids, right? So the more awareness that you have of a limiting belief system, the easier it is to dislodge it and dissolve it. And like I said, the toughest ones are the ones that have the always and the never attached to them. Sweetie, do you feel like telling the story about about the woman that was trying to get pregnant that you helped? Are you too stoned? He's a little stoned, so if it comes out a little wonky, you'll give him some grace.
Okay, so I specialize in infertility because I love helping women with that. And I had this woman that was coming to see me for that. And when I checked her pulses, and I'm talking about energy pulses, those of you that get acupuncture know what I'm talking about, not blood pulses, but energy pulses. I'm reading the energy in the body, finding energetic out of balances, and trying to correct the energetic out of balances. So she energetically was fairly balanced. And so I'm thinking, I said to her, I don't understand. There's no physical reason why you shouldn't be getting pregnant. Maybe you have an unconscious program that's preventing you from becoming pregnant. So I did this technique I did to uncover it, and yes, she did have one, and it came up. She remembered as we were doing the process, and she remembered when she was 5 years old, she asked for a Barbie doll for Christmas. And she got a doll, but it wasn't a Barbie doll. And so she threw it down and kicked it, 5-year-old. And her mother said to her, just because of that, you'll never be able to have children. So we cleared that, and she got pregnant the next month. I had one other situation, and so we checked her for an unconscious belief, and the unconscious belief was, she had a sister who had had 3 kids, and they all had birth defects, and she was afraid that her kids would have birth defects. So we cleared that, and she got pregnant the next month, and she has 3 totally healthy children.
Yeah. So a lot of times these belief systems, the subconscious ones, come from hurt. And a lot of times when we're very young, and sometimes we've even forgotten them. Of course, they're buried in the subconscious because we don't need them in our active experience, but they can still really be influencing us. So sometimes when I do this teaching, people are like, oh no, Angie, please don't tell me this. Judah, don't tell me this. I've been doing all this spiritual work, and now you're telling me there's all this subconscious stuff that I don't even know about? And they feel overwhelmed by it. But you don't need to, and I'll tell you why. These are really easy to deal with because if you have the fruit, you know that you have the root, right? If you have apples on an apple tree in the front yard, you know that you have an apple tree with roots, right? Down in the ground. You know that there's roots that feed the fruit or create the fruit. Yes? So all you have to do to uncover these is just look at what it is in your right now experience that you're struggling with. The thing that's resistant, the thing that's a pattern, the thing that doesn't seem to change, the thing that you've tried all the tricks and all the books and all the videos and you still are not getting to the bottom of it or seeing it shift. That's the thing that you know has a subconscious root. So if you've got the fruit, you've got the root. Very simple, right? And then you just ask. And you don't have to relive the pain of the original experience or the trauma of it. I promise you don't. All you have to do is be aware and then ask angels to help you clear it. And we're going to actually do that tonight. We're going to actually do it. So, inner vows come from really strong moments of really intense emotional pain, like what Chuck was talking about. And these can be like train tracks that our life can't seem to get off of. Like we're just, if you think about a train going into track, unless somebody comes and switches the track, you're heading wherever you're heading. So these could be simple, like let's say when you were a little girl, maybe your dad cheated on your mom and you had a sense of that and it was really painful and you saw the pain that she went through and it hurt you really deeply and you made a judgment in your heart. Men are cheaters, or all men cheat, or men will always cheat, or men will always hurt others. And so you've likely forgotten it. It's decades ago. You've forgotten that you made this inner judgment, but it operates like this train track that's in your life is barreling down this train track. And guess what you're destined to? You're destined to partner with somebody who cheats, right? Ye that judge do the same, right? Ye that judge do the same. You guys remember Jesus saying that? I had this with my mom. When I was very young, my mom was depressed a lot. And it was very sad for me. And I felt like very detached from her. And I couldn't understand why she didn't love me or care about me. I didn't understand depression, right? There was nobody there to talk to me about what she was going through. And I judged her in my heart because it hurt. And we can give ourselves a little mercy and compassion and forgiveness when we catch ourselves judging. Because when we're judging, it's because we're hurt, right? So when we're hurt, why wouldn't we love ourselves and forgive ourselves, right? So I judged I judged her for being depressed. Well, guess what happened? Ye that judge do the same. When I got to be a young mom, I fell into depression. But you know what it did? It helped to release me from my judgment because I felt compassion for my mom when I went through it, you see? And I was able to forgive her and understand, then have a deep understanding experientially of what she had gone through, and it made it easy for me to forgive her. Now, belief systems can also be karmic holdovers from unresolved past life stuff, and I'll give you a quick example of one of those. And in one of my past lives, I had a friend that helped me very talented friend, to uncover this. I was a young woman. Both of my parents died. And this was, in really early times, probably the 1600s. My parents died. I didn't have any provision for myself, no way to feed myself or care for myself, so I had to get married. So I had to get married to the wrong person, the first person that came along, and the marriage was terrible, and I couldn't get out of the marriage because back then you don't get out of a marriage, right? And if you do, then you're the scum of society, and you don't eat. You don't have any safety or protection in the world. So I made a judgment at that time. A belief system entered on a soul level that it's hard to get married. And if you get married, being married is hard. And it's even more difficult to get out of. And so I've had some lifetimes of sorting through that. So you can have, your level of consciousness can be really high in some areas and lower in others, right? So you can really be on the ball in, let's say, your life work. You can be operating in a really high level of consciousness in that area, but you can have other areas, your relationships or how you relate to the earth or different things where you're lower. Okay, any questions about any of this so far? Everybody okay? All right. So beliefs are, what are they basically? They're areas of unconsciousness. They're areas where we're not awake, we're not aware. They're areas of spiritual blindness. They can have many layers. They can be structures, like stacked upon stacked upon stacked in our subconscious mind. So I want you to take a few minutes and think about, what do you believe? What do you believe? And by the way, if you're starting to feel emotion coming up, that's good. Emotion is your first signal that you're getting free, right? So emotion is energy in motion. And so you can think about these things all day long for years, and you won't get free until you start feeling the feelings. So if the emotion's coming up, let it come. You have something, sweetie?
Are you going to explain how they get these unconscious programs?
Go ahead if you have something to add. I'm open.
Okay, so these unconscious programs that don't serve you, you didn't put them there. They were put there by teachers and parents, etc. So one of the things why we can get these is because up until hundreds of years ago, it was very hard to live to age 7. And so we did not have an analytical mind until we got to age 7. So if somebody says to Sally, if you go out and climb on the roof and jump off, you'll be healed of cancer, her analytical mind will say, huh, no, that's not true. Now, so the reason why kids till the age 7 don't have an analytical mind, because they are downloading everything. They need to learn quickly, hundreds of years ago. So if they saw their father put a piece of wood into the fireplace and he gets burned and he goes like this, and the child's seeing that, then the child recognizes that stay away from the fire. Because if he doesn't see that, what's he going to do when he gets close to that fire? He wants to touch it. So he's just downloading. When you have kids and you look at them, you can see in their eyes they're just downloading everything. Then at age 7, they get an analytical mind, and the analytical mind then can tell them whether or not they want to allow that new program into their unconscious mind. So these are just programs. It's just like a computer. Your brain's a computer. So you're born with a, what's it called? What's the thing I'm spacing out.
It's okay.
Anyway, you're born with, your computer has this. It has, and so your unconscious mind has, when you're born, it's like
a
your
hard
heart
drive?
will beat 72 beats a minute. Your blood pressure will be I can't believe it. It'll come to me in a minute. And all these things that you do unconsciously, you don't want to have to beat your heart. You don't want to have to breathe. So that's what you're born with that. Then you can get software just like your computer does, and these are programs. You get programmed. So until age 7, if you're told by your parents, who are gods, if Jimmy's parent says to him, you're never going to mount anything, you're never going to mount anything, then he gets programmed, and then 30 years later he can't seem to amount anything because he has this unconscious program. he doesn't know it's unconscious. That's why he doesn't know it's there. So most of these programs we have that don't serve us, we didn't put them there. Our teachers put them there. Our parents put them there. We got them many different ways, and we also don't realize to this day how we're still being programmed by the powers that be, if you will. People don't understand that these commercials that are on TV are programming us to get a disease. There was this story about this man. His doctor told him he had liver cancer and he was going to die within 6 months. He died within 6 months. They cut him open. He didn't have liver cancer. But the guy was a doctor, so he analytically thought, doctor knows what he's talking about. I'm going to let it into my unconscious mind. The unconscious mind, the computer doesn't say that's right or wrong. The computer just does what you're told it's told to do. If you program a computer that 2 and 2 equals 8, and you put in 2 and 2, you'll get 8. Now, what's one of the things that's going on to this day is that these commercials for prescription drugs, there's only 2 countries in the whole world that allow this to happen, they're programming us. So it's like these commercials cost lots and lots of money, millions and millions of dollars. And we can't prescribe a drug for ourselves, so why are they on there? Why do we have them? And 50% of all the commercials are about drugs. They're on there because the advertising agencies have hired experts, and they understand that when you hear symptoms for 2 years, you get programmed and you get that disease. So it's like when you're aware, when you're watching your TV program and you're very much aware, okay, this is my program, but then all of a sudden on comes an ad. Now you kind of space out. You're not listening to the ad, so that means your analytical mind is not paying attention and not blocking that out. So it goes in. So when you hear that 1,000 times, 2,000 times, you get programmed to get that disease. So that's why they tell you, and they tell you the symptoms of that. The other thing they do is when they tell you the side effects, and if you listen closely, the last side effect is 50% of the time is death. It's like, well, why are they telling us the side effects when they're all horrible? Why? Because when they tell you, when you hear that enough, you don't pay any attention. So when you go into the doctor and he starts to tell you the side effects, your mind says, oh, we already know that, and you zone out and you don't listen. And so that's why they do that too. So we're constantly being programmed. That's just one example. So you should always mute when a commercial for a prescription comes on. There's no need for there to be prescription drugs advertised on TV. We cannot prescribe it ourselves.
Good, thank you. Thank you. All right, so we're going to move into a time where we're going to start working on some of these with Judah. And so take a few moments and think to yourself, what do you believe? What do you believe about yourself? What do you believe about relationships? What do you believe about love? What do you believe about the political system, the medical system? What do you believe about media? What do you believe about success and money? There's a lot of people that can't manifest money, and they need money, and they want to have the ease and the flow that more money can bring to their life. But somewhere in there's a belief system that people that have money are bad people. They're not integrous. They make their money on the backs of other people's labor, right? And some of those things can be true, right? But if you believe that on some unconscious level, then there's a conflicting energy. There's confliction in you, right? You're conflicted. You want to make money, but you don't. You want to make money, but you don't want to be like rich people, right? And so if you're setting intentions and you're meditating and setting intentions and meditating and taking action and meditating and taking action and setting intention, and you're not manifesting what you want, you can rest assured there's a subconscious belief in there somewhere. right? You can have split energies. So, most of you've already heard my story where I shared I was sick for 2 years from COVID, and Chuck and I went through just a horrific time. He was keeping me alive with acupuncture. I almost died a couple of times, and I had to understand this. If I've got the fruit, which is this sickness, this disease, there has to be a root. And so I had to sit and look really deeply within and understand that there were parts of me that didn't want to be well. And Chuck would say that to me, and I would think that's ridiculous. Of course I want to be well. Of course I want to be healthy. Of course I don't want to be sick. But the evidence spoke otherwise. And so as I sat and I looked really deeply inside, I found there were parts of me that didn't want to be well. I was in my 40s. I'd raised 3 kids. I'd taken care of classrooms full of children. As a school teacher, volunteered at my church. I spent my whole life some time to myself.
Hard drive.
Was to get sick. To get sick and take a sick day and just be so bloody blooming sick that finally, my kids and everybody would leave me alone and I could go climb in bed and just, right? So that was an unconscious belief that was driving me. Well, if I get somewhere under the surface, that belief was there. If I get sick, everybody will finally just freaking leave me alone, right? And I won't have to just work myself down to the nub taking care of everybody, and I'll finally get some peace. Well, I did. I got 2 years of it. It wasn't fun. I got it out of my system. But that's another example. What do you believe about your health? Be careful when the doctor says something to you. Be very, very careful. They're doing their job. We appreciate that, right? But also, you have to use wisdom and discretion, but also you don't have to buy into the diagnosis, right? What do you believe about your relationship with God and with angels? I have people, all the time that want to haggle with me about belief systems about God and Judah and angels and all of that. And you know what? I can't do that with them. Because if I did that, I would waste all my energy doing that. If I tried to justify, argue, defend, or explain everything that I say or Judah says about this, that, or the other, I would not have a life, right? It's for each of us to sort out these things, right? I'm not here to tell anybody what to believe or how to believe, and I can't defend all the thousands of things that Judah says. What do you believe about your spiritual potential? What do you believe about channeling? So many times somebody will say, I wish I could channel. And I say, you can. And sometimes they believe me, and guess what? They'll be channeling within a few minutes because they believe what I say to them. You can. Right? What do you believe about your spiritual potential? Do you believe you can be an enlightened being? Because you can. Because you can. You absolutely can. What do you believe? Is what you believe true? Are you absolutely, absolutely certain that it's true? And is the belief, if it is true, is it helping you? We can believe things that are true, but it's still not serving us. It's keeping us small. Is what you believe expanding you? Is it set you free? Does it make you feel bigger, brighter, lighter, easier, have more flow? Or does it make you feel small and contracted and fearful? How are your beliefs working for you? One of the benefits of having Chuck in my life, he's such a renegade, which I love about him. But, he will call me on stuff that I say, right? And if you're really brave, and you can be even it doesn't have to be a romantic partnership, it could just be a friendship where you call each other on stuff. What did you just say? Is that true? Are you sure that's true? Well, because, well, you always blah, 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 blah. Well, you never da 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 da. Wait a minute, is that true? Judah recently said, you see, it doesn't matter if you don't fit in. You cannot fit in and do what you were sent here to do. So go ahead and be the odd man out. Just go ahead and be the misfit, right? Be a creative, vital life force, magician, physician, and musician in the earth. A vital life force. Be a portal or a doorway, bringing in cosmic destiny. And then Judah said, we don't care what you believe. Listen again. Judah said, we don't care what you believe or who you align yourself with, as long as you are alive with consciousness and aligned with the God that you are. So do we need beliefs at all? Right? When I was a little girl and my dad was a preacher, he used to rant occasionally from the pulpit about this man named Osho, and that he was full of the devil and blah, 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 blah. And then I met Chuck, and of course, Chuck's guru is Osho.
Wow.
Yeah. And you know, Osho said, we were laughing the other day because we were watching one of his videos, and he said, God is dead and hell's canceled. You know, I don't know whether or not Osho really believes that God is dead, but he says things to jolt people awake, to let go of their belief systems that aren't serving them, right? That's why he said that. And Osho was commonly known to say, I don't believe anything. Why do I need to believe anything? I just exist. I exist. And his mantra was love, meditate, celebrate. And that's what we founded this beautiful room on. Those three things: love, meditate, and celebrate.
When all your beliefs are gone, what's left? God. That's the only thing left. God.
So that's a perfect place for me to bring in my little illustration. So I can believe that this is an apple. I can believe it's a pretty red and yellow color. I believe it has a UPC symbol for me to swipe at the grocery store. I believe it has a code. I believe it's a Honey Crisp made by the Honey Crisp farm people. I believe it has a stem that came from an apple tree. I believe it's good for me. Or maybe I think it's rotten. There's a bruise there and I think, oh, it's rotten. I shouldn't eat it. I should throw it away. I can have multitudes of beliefs about it, right? What good does that do me? It brings me no life at all. It does nothing to nourish my body. But what if I just experience it? Who's the person here that has a card that I gave them and you really just want to experience? Yeah. Who wants the experience? I'm going to trade you my ace for your card. Who wants it?
Can I
You
just
want
say
it?
one thing real quick?
Yeah, go ahead.
One of the things that happens with beliefs is the
Trade you.
first time you look at a rose, you really see it and you're in awe, and you look and you see how red it is and green and everything, and it's just amazing. And then your mind makes a file called rose. And then from now on out, when you look at the rose, your mind pulls up that file. And you no longer experience that rose. You experience the file. You think you already know what a rose is. You think you already know the color. And so this is one of the downsides to what a belief does. It takes you away from the reality.
So I've got 4 aces here, and I just gave one to this sweet lady here. I'm trading you your deuces for an ace tonight, and the first one is, you're coming next. The first one is experience. Give up your belief system, trade it for an experience, right? So it's funny because the folks that come back to me over and over for personal sessions have learned that a lot of times they want to hear Judah tell them what they should eat and how they can get well and how they're going to meet their soulmate. And Judah can tell them all that stuff, right? But they've learned, because they've come to me several times now, that Judah won't tell them. I won't have Judah tell them, because I want them to channel the answer for themselves. I want them to experience what it feels like to talk to their angel and have their angel speak to them and speak out of their mouth, right? Because an experience, nobody can take that away from you. Right? Because if I give you the answer and Judah gives you the answer, then guess what that does? It fosters dependence on me and on Judah. But if you hear it, then all of a sudden you're a sovereign child of God that has your own connection to source. You feel the difference in the empowerment, right? And so there's a time to allow Judah to answer your questions, and that's cool. And then there's a time for you to do it yourself. And that's what we're here for. We're here to serve you and teach you how to do what we're doing, if that's what you want, right? And so the days of the big, star channelers is going to be over, because everybody's ultimately going to do it. And Judah gave that to me in a channel one night. Judah said, your job is to work yourself out of a job, right? So experience it. If you experience it, nobody can tell you anything, because you know, right? So who's got the next one? Here it is. Inner knowing. So trade your belief system for inner knowing. Yep. So, like, here's a good example. Emma Chong wrote to us this week on YouTube, and she said, first of all, I'm super grateful for Anjie, Judah, and the angels. I had a deep pain in my hip for many years. It's always come and gone. Recently, it's been acting up again. I've been in a lot of pain. I tried asking Judah and my angel team to help me find the root source of the issue and make a drastic transformation in my past, present, parallel, and future lives. Sounds like she's been listening to some videos, right? She said, guess what happened? This morning I woke up pain-free. My pain is gone. I want to tell everyone who sees this message, believe and you will receive. So Emma's telling us to believe that Judah can give a miracle and of healing. But see, she doesn't need to believe, because she knows. Why does she know? She doesn't know it up here. See, the ego knows up here. That's why we teach you a lot in this channel to say what? Do you remember the mantra? I don't know. I don't know. So that we can break free from our ego mind that thinks it knows every blooming thing, which is pride, right? And those yucky belief systems Chuck was talking about, all the programming that we have in our head. When we let go of that, then we can have the inner knowing, like Caleb's card says, the inner knowing, where you know that you know that you know, and you know it because you've experienced it. And so I was sharing on a podcast interview this week, when I was a little girl, about 6 or 7, I was sitting in a church service, and the preacher was preaching about a salvation message and about hell and separation from Jesus and all of that. And I was just a sweet little innocent girl. I was listening to that message, and I thought to myself, oh no, I love Jesus. I don't want to be separate from him. And I don't want to go to hell. That sounded terrible to me. And as I was sitting and listening, this presence, that mist we talked about at the beginning, came and enveloped me. I could actually see this mist all around me. And I was overcome with love, overcome with love, and just wept. And I was in such a state of bliss. That was my experience. And my inner knowing was, I knew that some presence was there to love me unconditionally. Now, where things went awry was, as a little girl, an obedient, sweet little girl, I listened to the man down front who was not having an experience. He was doing the best he knew to do with the light and insight and understanding that he had, right? And I listened to what he said, and he said, if you want to receive Jesus, then come down. And my little feet just took me right down, right down front, and I did what they said. I prayed the prayer they told me to pray. I read it from a card. I got baptized. I did all of those things. And I did it for all the right reasons, but I knew something that they didn't know, and I experienced something that they didn't know. And so the rest of my years, my formative years, were a struggle between what I experienced and what was true for me and what I knew and what they were indoctrinating me to believe, which was in many cases not the same. Sometimes there were some congruencies, but a lot of it was not congruent. Okay, so know what you know. Know it from a deep inner heart space. And when you know it, when you've said, I don't know enough times to loosen yourself up from the ego mind and the conditioning of the world and parents and education and all of that and media, then you can begin to have this deep, resonant heart knowing, right? And believing is a function of the mind, but knowing is your connection to divine intelligence, and that's called clairsentience. All right, let's talk about the next one. Who's got a card they want to trade? Want to trade? So we're going to trade our belief systems for knowing, experience. When we experience it, then we know, and what we know, no one can take away from us. And I want you to have your own experience. You can ride my coattails as long as you want if you're willing to learn, right? And if you're open. But then there comes a point where you experience it for yourself. So the third one is wisdom. Wisdom is so much better than a belief system. And wisdom is not heady, and it's not intellectual, and it's not big words. Wisdom is doing what works. If it works for you, keep doing it. If it doesn't work, stop doing it. Right? Stay neutral. Take the next right action. That's wisdom. What's the thing in front of you, the next right thing to do? Do that. Don't judge anything as good or bad. Be present. Stay neutral. There's no need to believe anything. Just release all the outcomes. Do what's right and release all the outcome. What's right for you? What's right for you? Okay, and the last one is, who's got my last one? You have it? There you go, my dear. The last one is, trade your belief systems for loosely held preferences. Okay? So I was walking in my neighborhood not so long ago, and I saw this man with this, and our neighborhood, you know, is mostly, I don't know, how would you describe them? Yuppies, like nobody uses the word yuppie anymore, right? They're all kind of intellectual big shots that have BMWs and Mercedes and all that. So this neighbor's walking down the street, and I see him, and I see he's just furious. He's just angry, mad. And he's looking at another neighbor's yard. And I'm walking by, and he stops me and starts to rail about the neighbors cutting that tree down, cutting their own tree down. Not his tree, their tree. And he's very upset because they've cut down this beautiful oak tree. I understand that. I love trees. I also feel very, very sad when a tree is cut down. That would not be my preference. But it is a loosely held preference, right? There is a time, sometimes, when trees have to be cut down. Chuck and I just had to cut down a beautiful oak tree. It was very sad, but it had to be done. It was wrecking our roof over and over. So, loosely held preferences over belief systems. I prefer to eat fruits and vegetables. That's different than saying, eating animals is wrong. You know, right? There are some people that are adamant. They have such a strong belief system that you should not eat meat. When I asked Judah about that one time, somebody had a question about that. Is it okay to eat meat? Judah said there are many animals that love to lay down their lives to nourish our bodies. And it is a part of their evolution to do that, and they do it willingly. Well, I wasn't expecting that answer. And Judah said some other things about it as well. And I am a vegetarian. But loosely held preferences. So in conclusion, stay aware. Be aware of what you believe. Especially if you hear yourself saying the words, I believe, and question it. Why do I believe this? Is it just something an inherited belief? Or did you consciously choose it? And is it one that you want to keep? And then begin to treat your beliefs on the conscious and subconscious level, which we're going to do tonight, and replace them with what you want. What you want. Create what you want. Have the experience. Create it. Experience it. Create it, then experience it. When you experience it, you know it. Right? And there's nothing that needs to be believed. All right. So, you guys ready to do some treating? Okay, if anybody wants to stretch a little bit, you can. If you want to move around too, that's fine.
Can I say one last thing? Well,
Please.
one of the ways in which unconscious beliefs has done real damage to the world is that 99% of Republicans were brought up in families that were Republicans. 99% of Democrats were brought up in families that are Democrats. 99% of Christians were brought up in families of Christians. 99% of Muslims were brought up in families of Muslims. They were programmed. Very few patients say, I'd like for you, you're old enough now, study all the religions, see which one you like. Pick it. No, they get programmed. And there was a Mormon that said, give me a child to age 7 and he'll be a Mormon for life.
One of the stories about Osho that I love, he talked about when he was a little boy, he was raised by his grandparents. And grandparents sometimes can be much better parents. Too bad that we don't let our grandparents raise our kids. But the grandmother did not allow anyone to teach Osho any type of religious tradition at all. And of course, you know, India is steeped in all kinds of different traditions. And the grandfather also, when he would go to his temple and his community house of worship, Osho would try to follow him and go with him. And the grandfather would send him back and say no. So they were very intentional about not indoctrinating him in any way. And he really is, I mean, he's such an amazing, enlightened being. If you ever have a chance to look up his old stuff.
How you spell that?
Osho. And Chuck lived with him, was it for 5 years, sweetie?
Yeah.
In an ashram in both India and in Oregon. And if you ever just are looking for some amazing spiritual teaching, you know, look up his stuff online. He's amazing. All right, so now we're going to do some treatments on the subconscious level to clear belief systems that you don't want. If you don't feel that you want to participate, it's fine. Just make a conscious decision that you don't want to participate and you're not going to be affected. I'm not doing any voodoo on you, okay?
I am.
Oh, you are? Okay. Yeah, he's always the one you got to watch out for. So we're going to treat some of these belief systems. This is not like a meditation. You're not trying to blank your mind, okay? What you want to do is you want to let the thoughts and feelings and memories come up, because understand that when you, let's say, I was telling Amos this example, they've been working cutting wood in the yard. So I said, if you, let's say, for instance, you were working with Chuck cutting wood in the yard and he said something or looked at you a certain way and it kind of rubbed you the wrong way and you felt angry and offended. But you knew in your heart, Chuck, that he really hadn't done anything out of the way. It's just the way you felt about it. So you say, super conscious, and Judah, if you want to ask for Judah's help. Superconscious, Judah, please treat this. Okay, the feeling that you're having in that moment. Because what could be underneath it might be hundreds of times that you worked with your dad in the yard or in the garage or doing something and you didn't do it quite right, and your dad scolded you and it made you feel bad, it made you feel worthless, it made you feel less than, right? And so in the moment, you know, when you're working with Chuck and that comes because he's kind of like a father figure, and so something pops up in your emotion, it doesn't feel good, you know, oh, I've got the fruit, there must be a root. So you just ask, super conscious, please, and Judah, please tag and treat this, or you can ask your own angels or whoever you connect with, Jesus, the Buddha, Krishna, it doesn't matter. You're asking for supernatural support and joining that with your own higher self, which during this evening we're going to call it super conscious. I'm referring to your higher self as a super conscious. You're asking them to treat it, and they will. And understand that your mind is extraordinary. If you will stick with us and do this kind of work for a while, your brain will actually learn how to rewire your neural networks. And we just launched a new program last week. It's very inexpensive. It's $1 for 14 days called Judah Treats, where you do this kind of work on your own, and it works, and it's powerful, and it's an audio. You just pop it in your ear, and you can begin rewiring your brain. Not only are you doing it as you're listening, but your brain is learning how to do it so that you can eventually do it on the fly, and your brain can start processing through old stuff really fast and actually heal itself. Yes, dear?
Question on that.
Sure.
Because there've been a few times that I fell asleep. So do I need to just go revisit those?
That's a great question.
Or is it just coming in subconsciously even though I fall asleep?
That's a great question. So sometimes if the mind, the ego mind is fearful, you can have parts, young fragile parts or protective parts that don't want that healing to happen, and they'll actually anesthetize you. When Chuck and I first started dating and we were listening to really high level, high consciousness teachers like Cryon and others, Osho, I could not stay awake. I mean, I literally could not stay awake because I had so much religious programming, and the stuff that we were listening to was so adverse to my belief systems that my ego mind would try to put me to sleep so that I wouldn't get free. So understand that we have a lot of different parts inside of us, young, fragile parts, hurting parts, protective parts, that will step up and try to bar you from getting freedom. And if you want to learn all about that, you can go back to Ted Lasso video to learn about that. So to answer your question though, it is okay if you go to sleep. It will still work. And you can just ask Judah, is there a part in me that doesn't want to receive treatment, that's making me sleepy? And if you feel yes, then you say, Judah and superconscious, can you please treat this part? And you'll feel that part being treated, and then you'll be able to revive and be a little more cognizant. Do you want to say something, sweetie?
Well, and sometimes that's a positive thing because now your mind can't block anything, but it's still going in and getting to your subconscious mind. If you know about subliminal learning and all, so it's still going in. That's why a lot of people will listen to things at night when they're asleep, and it'll still go into their unconscious mind. They can create programs while they're asleep. So sometimes that's beneficial.
And there's also free on our YouTube channel, there's a Judah sleep meditation that's 10 hours that you can listen to at night while you sleep. And it has this protocol that we're getting ready to do together. It has it in there. So it will work on your subconscious mind while you're sleeping. And you can play it in the background during the day too if you want. All right, so let's begin. And we'll save time at the end for anybody that wants to hang around to ask more channeling. We'll channel some more with Judah. All right, so just relax, close your eyes. Allow yourself to drop into that alpha, theta kind of daydreamy state, because in that state, your brain is more easily rewired. You have more neuroplasticity. So just relax. And just find the belief that you want to focus on. Give me a little wave if a belief came up in your mind tonight. Okay, good. All right, so find the one that feels the most important to you right now. Just kind of focus on it. And go ahead and put it in your own words. So in your inner being, put words to this belief. Maybe it's I'm not worthy, or I'm never good enough. I don't know what it is. You decide what it is for you and put it in a simple sentence, okay? Okay, now just kind of notice it. You're observing, right? And explore it. And it's okay to feel some emotion, but you won't feel overwhelmed by the emotion. So just notice, what does it feel like to be a person that believes this? What's it like to be a person that believes this? Okay, I'm going to ask Judah. I want you to ask Judah with me. I want you to say, ask your superconscious to locate the consciousness of Judah, and then just allow Judah to just move right into your being, just to merge right into you, and just begin to feel their love and their compassion and their empowerment for doing this work. And you can feel the shift, can't you? You might hear the sound in your ears might be a little different. You might feel some electricity, or maybe some warmth in your heart, or maybe tickles in your crown area. But you can feel Judah's presence, their consciousness merging in with your consciousness, your super consciousness. So we're asking Judah and your superconscious to work together now to treat these beliefs. So holding the belief in mind, say it again in your inner being. Say the belief. Notice what comes up for you. Any thoughts, any feelings, maybe some memories. Noticing what it feels like to be a person that believes this. Now, Judah and Superconscious, I ask you to please copy all of these memories into a safe place and diagnose the safest way to find any blocks to treatment and the communication process. And I just want to speak to any parts, especially those protector controller parts that don't want this treatment to happen. And I just want to reassure you that you're not going to die or lose information. You're going to be respected. Your skill sets are going to be respected. And I want to ask you to please allow this treatment so that these precious ones can have less pain and more pleasure, more satisfaction in their life. And I want to ask you please to join this treatment team. And all your strengths are going to be integrated into the main personality. You're not going to be lost or forgotten. So I want to ask all of your parts now to join the treatment team. You should start feeling really peaceful, and you can feel lighter and more freedom. So now all your parts are working together with your superconscious and with Judah. Good. So superconscious, please copy these memories into a safe place and diagnose the safest way to find any blocks to treatment and the communication process. And once these are resolved, let the copy dissolve, and please treat all the original memories, the original root, in any realm of time and space, in past, parallel, present, or future realities. Find the original source and treat everything associated with it, and do a massive change history on any associated traumas that followed after that.
Do you want us to repeat that? Or-
No, just that's a great question, sweetie. You can just let my words kind of flow over you like a piece of music. You can just be super relaxed and just breathe. There's really nothing you need to do but just breathe. Good. Now hold that belief in mind again. Say the belief again in your inner being. And just explore. Just notice, not judging, just observing. What does it feel like to be a person that believes this? And just breathe. Just let as many memories or thoughts or feelings as possible come up around this, because the more you allow to come up, the more we can clear and treat. Remember, these are whole root systems. There are lots and stacks and stacks and stacks of memories, all connected in these neural associations. So let them all come up, all the thoughts, all the feelings, all the memories. Good. Okay, now we're going to treat it, okay? Say the belief one more time in your mind. Just hold it in your focus. Judah, yes, we are here. We are here to treat. Thank you, Judah. Superconscious and Judah, please treat the structure of all disempowering associations to this belief that this precious one is holding in mind. And Judah and Superconscious, please identify any parts, any predispositions, habitual thoughts, patterns of behavior, memories, complex structures of memories that have led to this belief and that are associated with this belief, and treat them fully and do a massive change history and everything after that. And just breathe. You're doing great. Okay, now I want you to say the belief again in your mind. How does it feel? Does it feel clear, or does it feel... If it feels 100% clear, give me a little wave, or if we want to do another round, we can do that too.
Probably need
Another round. Let's do another round. So say the belief again in your inner being, and just notice how it makes you feel. Notice what it feels like to be a person that believes this. Allow any thoughts and feelings to come up. Just observe them. You're doing great. Just breathe. Doing so good. Just breathe. Very good. Now, Judah and superconscious, please treat the structure of all disempowering associations to this belief. And please identify any parts, predispositions, or complex structures that have led to these associations and treat them fully and do a massive change history and everything after that. Good. Good. And take a deep breath.
Can you do one more?
Let's do one more round. And if you feel complete with that first belief, you want to work on another one, you can work on a different one, okay? If you don't feel quite complete yet with the first one, just stick with that one. So again, just explore the feelings. Notice and explore, what does it feel like to believe to be the person that believes this? What does it feel like? What other thoughts are connected to it? What memories, what emotions? Just let them pop up. And Judah, please treat the structure of all disempowering associations to these beliefs. Please identify any parts, predispositions, or complex structures that have led to these associations and treat them fully. And then do a massive change history and everything after that. And just breathe. Very good. Okay. All right, and we're going to do one more thing that's important. Think about that belief, and now I want you to ask yourself, what do you want to believe instead? What do you want to believe instead? I can, I deserve, I want, I am. Make a statement inside yourself of what you want to believe instead. What you want to experience, what you want to know, the wisdom that you want to have. So when you have that new statement of what you want to believe instead, give me a little wave. Okay, so state that new belief in your mind. And I want you to notice, what does it feel like to believe this? What does it feel like? What does it feel like to be a person that believes this? And Judah, I ask that you would treat any resistance to this new belief. And Judah and superconscious, I ask you to do a sentence procedure on this new belief and state that belief in your mind. And I ask you to continue bringing this new belief into the active experience, the now experience, and treat all memories associated with it until there's nothing left that contradicts. There are no more contradictory memories associated with this new belief. And I ask you, Judah and superconscious, to continue to activate this new belief until it's 100% true, lived experience, deep inner knowing. Judah and superconscious reinforce this belief until it's 100% true in the main personality and do a massive change history and everything after that. And just state that new belief again in your heart. And focus on what it feels like to be a person that believes this. And we're going to do one more together. All of us, we're going to use this one. I'm free from all limiting belief systems. Let's just say that out loud. I am free from all limiting belief systems. So Judah and Superconscious, I ask you to treat this statement, I'm free from all limiting belief systems. I ask you to treat all parts, predispositions, complex memory structures, negative emotions, beliefs and memories associated with it, and then do a massive change history and everything after that. Good. All right, take a deep breath and come on back. How's that feel? You guys got to experience Judah Treats. This is what Judah Treats is. All right, shall we channel some more? If you need to leave at any point, you're free to. Go
Can I
ahead,
just
sweetie.
say one
Yeah,
last thing?
please.
Leave on how this is an example of how powerful and how you can use beliefs in a positive way. This psychiatrist did this study where she took 25 men over the age of 80, took them away to an isolated place, hung up posters that would have been up 20 years earlier, played TV programs that were on 20 years earlier, and told them to act 20 years younger, measured how tall they were, measured how long their fingers were, measured their cognitive factor, measured all kinds of things. After 2 weeks, they were taller, their fingers were longer, their cognitive factor was 65% better. There was a man who had got there walking on a walker, and he was out playing touch football. And then there was somebody who decided that can't be true, so they went to do the study to prove that it wasn't true, and they found out that yes, that was true. That's how powerful they can be.
All right. Any questions for Judah? Yes.
How do you know when sticking with the situation will provide growth versus exiting the situation, because that's really what's the best option for yourself?
Good, excellent question. The question is, how do you know when to stay and when to go? When to stay and when to go? Well, this question has many different answers because there are many myriads of different situations that people can be in situationally. There is a time to stay and there is a time to go. How do you know? It's difficult, but you have to have a deep inner knowing, and it needs to come from a sense of peace, okay? So if you're going to go, you might be scared to death on one level, but your deep inner knowing, in that inner sense, you'll have total and complete peace that you're doing the right thing. You see, even if the other is very threatened or upset or intimidated or and so on, when you have that deep inner peace, you must follow that. It's your gauge. We will tell you that many, many years ago, when this vessel was married to her first husband, who was deep in the throes of addiction. And everyone around her said, you have to leave. He's never going to change. Do you hear the judgment there? He's never going to change. Do you hear the belief system there? He's never going to change. Was it true? Well, it seems that it's still true after all these many years. But they were all saying, you need to leave. And she sat and looked through her Bible to find some verse that would give her permission to go, you see, because that was her authority, her source of authority, rather than her own inner being, you see. But what she knew was this: no one else was going to feed her children. No one else was going to put a roof over her head. you see. And she knew that ultimately she had to take full responsibility for her decision, you see, because no one else was going to be there to pick up the pieces for her, whatever decision she made, whether it was to go or to stay. But she looked for signs, you see, and there were signs. Even her employer gave her a place to live at no charge as part of her salary in support of this move that she wanted to make at that time. So you're looking for signs, you're looking for the obvious, easy path. As the song goes, row, row, row your boat gently down the stream. Merrily, 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 life is but a dream. You're looking for ease, you're looking for flow, you're looking for the obvious open doors, the obvious signs, but you must be willing to take responsibility for your choices, ultimately. Look for peace. What gives you peace? If another way to handle it, this is just one way, we're not saying it's the way. Another way is to simply just to let them come or let them go. So if you're in a relationship already with someone and you're not sure what should happen, you can simply say to the universe, if I'm not meant to be with this person, let them go. Let them go about their way. And so if someone comes, you can let them come. And if they go, let them go. Never, ever, ever hold on to someone who wants to leave. If they want to leave, let them go. Let them go. And we would say, ultimately, dear, there are no mistakes. Really, there are no mistakes. It's a pathless path. You can stay or you can go. Do what pleases you. Do what pleases you. Do what makes you happy. Understand that, however, that you will live with whatever choices you make and whatever the outcomes there will be. But there really are no mistakes. And don't necessarily consider the impact on the other. You do the best you can to leave well if that's what you want to do. But if they decide that they're going to feel sorry for themselves or feel victimized or jump off a bridge or anything like that, that's not your responsibility, you see. You're only responsible to love yourself and love the other. So as much as possible, do what is loving for yourself and the other. Yes? But when that's not a possibility, love yourself. Sometimes others cannot receive love. They're not able to at that juncture. So what good does it do to deprive yourself and them of love? It does no good at all, you see. If they can't receive your love and you're still there offering it and offering it and offering it, and it's obvious they can't receive it for whatever blocks and reasons that they have, why waste your love there? And understand that ultimately, to be an enlightened being is to love all people, all people, all people, all people, all people, and love them all equally, and love them all extravagantly, and love them all bigly. So consider your love to be a very, very special and precious treasure, and think of your love as an investment. If you're going to give your love to someone, don't you want it to be in such a way that it's a good investment with a good return for them? A good return for them and a good return for you and a good return for the planet and for all of humanity? If you had a very precious love to give and you knew the person that you gave it to was going to simply go out back and dig a hole and bury it in the ground and cover it up and it would never be seen again, would you allow them to do that? Of course not. So we can't answer your question exactly because we don't know all of the details. And even if we did, we would not want to be responsible for that decision because ultimately you will be the only one that will live with the decision. But we do believe that you can trust yourself. And we do believe that you are wise. And we do believe that you are loving, no matter what anyone you're in a relationship may say about you. And we do believe that if it's time to go, you will have an inner knowing, and not only will you have the inner knowing, but you will have the support of life. You will have the support of life to make the change. And it may seem that there's not a job or a place to live or this or that you're going to need in the transition, but we assure you it will be there. It will be there for you right on time. Good.
What I've found works for me, that's never let me down, is following my heart. Following my heart has never let me down.
Sometimes I get confused. Like, is it my heart or is it me? Like,
That's
sympathy and
exactly.
compassion. Like,
and that takes some practice. It does. It takes some practice, but you can get to the place to where you can actually feel it. There's a place there's a feeling that you can get in your body when you hear the truth, whether the truth comes from your mind or somebody else. And so you can practice that. You can, if you can turn on something somewhere that's a bunch of lies, and you can feel, where do I feel that in my body? Oh, I feel it down here. Okay. And then you turn on something that you believe to be true, and you say, oh, if I feel peace here, it feels peaceful here. It can be different for everybody, but there is a way of feeling the truth. Everybody knows this unconsciously anyway. We just choose not to pay attention to it. But you can tune into that. And if you're not sure, ask. That's another thing. I've always found that when I ask, I always receive. Now, sometimes it doesn't come as fast as I want it to, but it always does. And once again, being able to tell that's not my ego that I'm hearing.
And we would like to speak about love and freedom. For you see, the way the culture defines love is that love is one thing and freedom is another. But we differ on that. We see that love and freedom are the same. If you love someone, you give them all freedom. And to have freedom is to love yourself and the other, you see. You see, this vessel does not ask anything from her partner. She says, whatever you want to do, honey, whatever you want to do, even if that means that he wants to go and be with another woman, you see. She would give him that freedom. Love and freedom are not separate. They are not separate. So true love has the aspect of freedom. And all freedom is love.
Did anybody get that on recording, please?
Yeah, I was curious if you're going to test that, Chuck. Yeah.
I might get tested on it.
I have a question for Judah.
Yes, please.
How do you use the help of angels to heal an animal? I'm asking because my dog hurt his back.
I'm
I
sorry.
need this too.
What was that?
How do you get an angel's help to bring healing? Okay,
To
an animal.
Yeah.
Yep. Okay, so the same way you would with a person. So let's talk about that. And then if you guys want to, I can just give you guys some energy hits. Would you like that?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so the way you do it would be the same for a dog as it would be for a human, and it would be this. You would say well, first you would just ask in your inner being for your superconscious or your higher self to find the consciousness of Judah. Okay, so you can do it even now, just in your inner being. You say, superconscious, can you please locate the consciousness of Judah? Or if you want to ask, Jesus is a healer, right? Jesus is a great one to ask if you want healing, a healing gift. And then you'll feel the shift. You'll feel that kind of energy of Judah coming into your being. And then you just put your hand on him. And you just feel your own life force energy in your hand. You feel the blood. You can feel it in your hand. If you hold your hand out and you really focus, can you feel energy running through your hand. And you just put your hand on them. You say, Judah, please heal my dog. Right? It's just that simple.
That reminds me of something in the book Bhagavad Gita. It's like Arjuna is in charge of one army that's going to fight another army, and he goes out to look at these men that are going to be in battle, and he says to Krishna, how can I kill these people who are kin, and how can I do that? I can't do that. I would just as soon they come kill me rather than me do that. And he drops his bow and arrow, and Krishna says to him, this is a misconception. And what your misconception is, there is no such thing as death. There's only transformation. And what I found, so maybe that animal, remember, they're in evolution too. Maybe it's time for that one to come back in 3D. Animals are in 2D. And if you watch these dogs now, they're starting to be in 3D. You can see that now. And the best thing, the most healing of all energies is love. So you can put your hands and give them love and just say whatever is best for you.
Okay, I'm going to sign off with our video friends, and I'm just going to come around and just let Judah just blast you with some big energies and healing and whatever it is that you want and need. And if you don't want that, it's okay to just, just tell me no. And otherwise, I'm going to give you everything I've got, or let Judah give you everything they've got. Anybody have a story or anything they want to share from that, from your experiences here together when you've gotten zapped like that? Okay. All right, let's do it. Goodbye, family out there.